Bang, we are live. Welcome to the new Home Invest School podcast. And as I promised on Friday, I dragged a special guest in, and that is the man himself who has made all this possible, Nate Armstrong. Nate, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, Graham, nice to see you, man. Nice to have everybody on. It's magic when you can actually press a button and then all of a sudden be live with a bunch of people really, really fast. So I love this, man.
Modern technology, love it. But on Friday, I made the announcement, Nate. I don't know if I went too early. I just made the announcement. I thought I'd better get the head honcho in just to elaborate on that. With a brief how things have been amalgamated, and we've got the new podcast now, and we're up and about. And yeah, basically just get you to talk to the audience and just let everyone know what's happening.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff's happening. The reason for the timing and why we're doing this right now is because right now we're heading into a recession. We actually are in a recession right now, but the government doesn't want to say it. So instead they moved the goalposts, they moved the definition, they've changed it. But I remember the last great recession is where I cut my teeth. And for those of you that have never lived through a recession or haven't been an investor through a recession, buckle up. Okay, this is the time where most people create pretty significant wealth during recessions like this. And I'm not looking for doom and gloom on anybody or anything like that, but I do know what's about to happen. And so I want to get the word out there and tell people, hey, this is what's happening. This is the way this is going. But branding wise, we've had one company since the beginning of time called Home Invest. Home Invest is what literally took my wife and I from, after recovering from going through a really tough financial time through bankruptcy. Home Invest is what was born out of that. We started working really hard, built this thing up, and started doing hundreds of properties per year, and then eventually into multifamily, and the whole thing just kept running. And when people started asking us how to do this, I showed them how to do it in social media, and that's why we had the old branding that we did, Social Media Blueprint. But I want to bring everything together. Nice, consistent, one unified message across the board. I feel like education, especially in the United States of America right now, is just whacked. I demanded a refund from the superintendent of schools from where I went to school. I noticed that they're charging right now, tax dollar wise, they're charging upwards of $15,000 per student per year. And if you do the math on that over from little kid to graduate, that's $250,000, depending on what state we're talking about. And I just realized that they're still not teaching about how to balance a checkbook. They're still not teaching about how to start a business, how to grow a business. They're still not teaching about any of the stuff that they should be teaching as we head into this recession that we're in. And I want to unveil it. I want people to be able to actually access education that can help them in the right way, put money in their pocket, be a better entrepreneur. I mean, even if it's simple things like, Graham, you are out here beating the drum every single week. I see how much work you're doing for this community. And you're educating people pretty much every single day between this podcast, the other podcasts that you host. You're helping. Those kind of messages are much better than the current schooling system that kids are going through right now. And so I just want to get the message out, want to get it out the right way, what people should do.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that. I've been saying this for years, Nate. The stuff that you learn in public schooling and everything, it doesn't prepare you for life as much as what we probably need. And I'm talking about and you just mentioned that just how to control your finances, how to balance your checkbook, all this sort of stuff that when you get in the real world and the bank wants their repayments and everyone wants their money, how you can survive and thrive in that industry. And then you mentioned, I saw you live earlier on, and you mentioned about the next step about then taking your money and investing it so that you can secure stuff for your family. So that's just not taught anymore. And we all know there's been a lot of change to the curriculum, and it's especially in public schools, it's all over the place. One person wants to do this and one person and it seems to be going in different directions. So I saw that, and there's a topic, self-education, and that's a huge thing. I know someone that we've followed for a long time, Dean Graziosi and Anthony Robbins. They launched about 2.5 years ago with the self-education revolution, exactly saying that sometimes you have to take things within your own hands and go and get and educate yourself on the topics that you need to know because you haven't been prepared for them. So that's exactly what you were talking about. And there is a big change because people are starting to realize that mainstream is not preparing you for the real world as such. So like you said, with a recession coming, and even then the government don't want to say those words because it's not good for polls and all the rest of it. We won't go too political, but like you said, I've lived through a recession as well, Nate, and there are ways that people can still survive and thrive through that, and that's something that you're trying to teach at the moment. Do you want to, firstly, with a lot of the people that haven't been, the younger people that haven't been through a recession, what can they sort of look forward to, or not look forward to, but what's coming that they don't realize?
Yeah. So right now it's time to lock into cash flow, passive income preferably, but at least having some stream of income that comes in every single month, regardless of whether you punch in at a job, 9 to 5 kind of thing. Why? Why is it important? Well, you're going to see major companies start to do more cuts. We've already seen it. We noticed, we saw that early on. Elon Musk came out and he announced that he was cutting back 10% of employees on all companies. This is about 3 months ago, and he got so much flack for that because he said, no, I see what's coming. I'm doing it now. And now we're starting to see the aftermath. We're starting to see companies that are starting to pull back. Ford announced that it's pulling back. It's cutting a whole bunch of jobs, for goodness sakes. Ford's a huge, major American brand that's cutting back. Walmart's cutting back. A lot of those white collar jobs, especially. And you'd think that Walmart's going to be safe in the middle of a recession because that's like the low price leader, the discount leader. But even Walmart says, we know what's going on. We have tons of inventory sitting on our shelves, tons of inventory sitting in stores. We need to cut back. And so they're doing it. And so that's kind of what you can expect on the job frontier. There's going to be a lot of cuts. It's going to be painful for some people. What that leads to is the domino effect. Now, all of a sudden, somebody can't afford to pay a mortgage. That's the unfortunate side of things. There's nothing that you or I are going to be able to do to stop that. But what we can do is we can step in and give them solutions. We could potentially take over their property for them so that they don't have to go into default and go into foreclosure. We're going to see foreclosures come. Probably nothing like the magnitude of the last cycle, but we're going to see people that are in painful positions that need to get help during a recession.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, yeah, it's like you said, it's just the reality of it, and people, need to prepare for that. They're obviously people that are sort of hanging on the edge have to try and I don't know, find a side hustle, find some other way if they do get laid off to try and keep their payments up. But if not, they're going to be reaching out and looking for people to try and help them. So that's just the reality of it all. And yeah, Nate, I just wanted you to go into the direction that, because obviously I said last Friday when I was talking in the interview with Michael about how much stuff that you've basically put in the Facebook group and on YouTube about but you've been saying this for a couple of months. So anyone that wants to go into the Facebook group, that you can see all Nate's lives for the past, couple of months, that's been sort of showing the reality of what's actually happening through statistics. So this isn't just a made up thing. Nate's actually pointed out exactly all the stats that are showing this. So I advise people to go and check those videos out in the Facebook group or even on the YouTube channel. And so Home Invest, you've put a line in the sand, Nate, and you've got a clear plan moving forward, haven't you? You've said, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to head this way, and this is our strategy moving forward. And that's obviously because you've been there when it's happened before. So you've seen all the same signs and you've projected, well, we need to sort of pivot and go this way. Did you just want to go into that a little bit as well?
Yeah. So this is going to get very different for real estate investors during the cycle. The last 3 years, we kind of had things easy on the selling of properties frontier or the renting of properties frontier. I know it wasn't easy to find properties the last 3 years, but what's going to happen is we're going to see the tables turn. Okay. It's going to be slow in some places, but it's going to happen. I assure you that. Okay. But watch what also gets more difficult. Okay. This is why you've got to really understand. You got to really understand how to navigate this terrain. Lending will dry up. Mark my words on that. If you haven't seen it already, there was this big thing about Kiavi, one of the biggest fix and flip lenders in the country. They pulled back a ton of their loans all at once. I knew 2 or 3 people just in my circle that had loans that had to get canceled. They had to shuffle and try to find new lenders all at the same, right at the same time. Why? Well, because Kiavi gets their capital on another tier, the secondary market. And if New York or Wall Street is the one that's funding them and they decide to pull back on funding, then guess what? Kiavi can't fund a bunch of loans. So you're going to see lending start to dry up. You probably saw Sprout Financial, nationwide mortgage broker. They dried up. They went bankrupt. They filed bankruptcy. Now they're the third that I've heard of in the last 3 months. So capital will start to get tighter. I literally had my assistant in the last 10, maybe 14 days. I've had her call 40 banks, 40. Why? Because I'm trying to stay ahead of what I know is about to come. I'm trying to make sure that we have tons of funding options for the properties that we take through our system. So she literally called 40 banks. I gave her the exact interview questions to ask each bank. She went through and she filled out this big Excel spreadsheet for me. And she found, like, for me to have a perfect bank, it's one that I can do unlimited loans with. I can do it in the name of a business. I don't have to put it under my personal name. It's a really big deal, especially for like asset protection, things like that. But like these specific criteria. And she found out of 40 banks, there's 3 that are willing to say yes with the new financial climate that we're heading into. Most of the other ones, the other 37, are pulling back right now because of all the changes that are happening. They don't want to be exposed to real estate like they were back in 2007, 2008, 2009. So there's big changes coming on the lending frontier. And then the next one will be on how you actually derive your income. If you've been making all of your money off of doing like fix and flips and wholesale, it's going to change. Okay. Wholesale will still be there, but your buyer is going to be totally different. Your buyer will be more of folks that are looking for cash flow, the landlords, the buy and hold people, the people that don't need to make an immediate buck. They're in this for the long term. Okay. And then on the, instead of doing fix and flips, like you're going to have to learn how to monetize rentals. That's why like we're doing trainings right now on how to get paid upfront to buy rental property, as an example. You can totally do that. There's tons of capital that's available for it, especially private investors. You just have to understand that. You have to know how to walk through the next cycle of real estate that we're about to go through. Does that answer that question, Graham?
Yeah. And so what you're saying is cash flow is going to be the king. Cash flow assets are going to be the king. It's not. It's going to change. There's going to be a lot more buy and hold type.
Precisely, because investors are nervous right now. If you look at the 1970s, we went through something that's called stagflation. And stagflation occurs when you have inflation plus one other wacky or bad thing in the economy. Well, that stagflation, what the Fed chairman during the 70s tried to do is basically band-aid it off, like throttled up interest rates a little bit, but then back down. Throttled them up a little bit, but then back down. He didn't like go in and just try to like rip the whole thing off. And so what happened is we went through a decade in the United States of America where things never really got better, a whole decade. And then it wasn't until the 80s that the new Fed chairman that replaced him came in and said, no, we got to solve this. We can't just keep dragging on and on and on. And he ripped the Band-Aid off. He caused some short-term pain, some serious pain, increased interest rates a heck of a lot. And then all of a sudden the market started to level off and we had a good, healthy economy again. Now, the current Fed chairman, he said he'll keep raising interest rates as long as he has to, but so far he hasn't been as aggressive as the 1980s Fed chairman. So my anticipation is that we're going to go through a period of stagflation. And I'm not alone in my theory on that. Actually, the largest hedge fund owner in the world right now, Ray Dalio, said that we're in stagflation right now as we speak. So buckle up. It's going to get real interesting.
Yeah, and you just mentioned hedge funds. There's been in the marketplace with people that I know that are heavily into hedge funds, they've said there's been a huge drop-off. There's been a scaling down. A lot of them have pulled out of the market. So that was just booming for a couple of years, and a lot of wholesalers were linked up with hedge funds, and it was moving and shaking. And now that's just drying up to a certain extent as well. So it's going to affect, like you said, the wholesaling, because there's going to be less of those buyers in the market. And like you said, it's a time probably to pivot and look at who your new buyer is going to be. And as you're saying, it's probably going to be people that are going to look to buy and hold for cash flow now. So, and that's something that, Home Invest has started to identify and started to move towards anyway. So that's what you're saying. So no, it's all interesting, isn't it? And like I said, I've been watching your videos, and like, all the writings on the wall. It's not just made up stuff. People, rumors and innuendos, and there's a lot of other people that are showing those stats as well. So it's just a fact now. So yeah, it's just another market cycle, isn't it? And like you said, Nate, you've been through a few market cycles and you've seen this, and you've just got to prepare yourself and set yourself up the best that you can.
Yeah. And to those that are in markets right now that inventory is still short, and you're like, oh, that's not possible. All the news and the realtors, they're saying that we're in an inventory shortage. You're right. Okay. We are in an inventory shortage in a lot of markets right now. Okay. But that doesn't last forever. If you look at even 12 months ago versus today, and then look at the snapshot, you can go through, like, redfin.com has all of the backend data, Zillow.com, and realtor.com. If you go into the data that they use to populate their charts, I want you to follow 3 metrics. Okay. The number 1 metric is this. I want you to look at inventory. How many months supply of properties are there on the market? And it's debatable about what's a healthy market and what's not a healthy market. We've been living in this inventory short market for basically like 3 years. And now what's happened is we've started to have interest rates go up, which then all of a sudden, like Graham, you said, the demand's going down. We're seeing hedge funds pulling out. We're seeing individual investors starting to back off because interest rates went up. I actually had a wholesale deal teed up that we were going to sell, and we were going to have a good profit on it. Our investor had a really good deal, but because interest rates went up right in the middle of his inspection period, he got nervous because it decreased the cash flow. His mortgage payment would have been higher. So then therefore he backed out. He canceled on the deal right in the middle of it. And I wasn't able to sell that deal because the margins were kind of tight on it. Anyhow, that's the first sign. Okay. People start bailing on the market, and then all of a sudden inventory increases. The second sign is price reductions. Look around your area right now. I don't know if you have a comparative analysis that you can do on this or not. If you've been in the market, but watch to see if there's price drops happening. You can literally, if you just go into Zillow.com and click buy, there's a little box you can check that says, show me only price reduction listings. And you can start to see how many reductions have actually occurred in your marketplace. If you go back in time just 4 months ago, I bet you there were very close to no reductions, or a very small percentage of it. I bet you that percentage now is probably up 10, 15, 20%. Some markets, it's getting pretty ugly. It's getting really, really ugly. So that you got the 3 metrics. You got inventory, you got price reductions, and now you actually have prices drop. Prices dropping won't physically record in front of you. They don't get to the county recorder's office for at least 3 months, because when someone puts a property under contract, they got to go through inspection. They got to go through appraisal. They got to get through the whole closing process. There you're talking 1.5 months, 2 months. And then once it closes, it's got to get recorded with the county. That's a government office. It takes time. So we're not actually seeing the reduction of prices for quite some time. So watch those 3 phases, okay? So even if you're not feeling it right now, just continue to watch. Is inventory going up? Are price cuts happening on the MLS? If you see those signs, then you can pretty much bet that you're going to start to see some softening of your marketplace price-wise too.
Yeah, definitely, Nate, definitely. And another one is days on market. There's more houses that are sitting, a big clump of houses that are getting up to 60 days, 90 days now, which that just wasn't happening 6 months ago, 12 months ago. So that's another thing I've noticed, being on Redfin and all those sites is, wow, there's starting to be a lot more stuff just sitting there for longer periods of time. So the other thing I wanted to ask you, Nate, is you mentioned about the banks. You've done 40 phone calls, 37 are saying we're pulling back, 3. I mean, that's a very low percentage. What about private lending? How will that affect private lending? People that have got their own money and they're looking to invest in deals or syndications. How's that going to be affected?
Yeah. So on the surface, there will be a lot of private investors that actually pull back, but don't be fooled. The money's not disappearing. What they're looking for is a safe place to park that money. So we put out 2 syndication deals recently, just in the last few months. Both of them oversubscribed in a really short window of time. And we're talking multi-million-dollar deals for both of them. Okay. Even on smaller deals, like I've got a 4-unit building that I sent out to some accredited investors. We immediately had 2 that said, yes, yes, as soon as we published the thing. So right now there is a theory, like there's a place in investors' hearts right now where they're looking for the safe deal, but they're looking for the safe deal. So my best advice is like, get as much training as you possibly can. When you present to them, be professional, like look legit. That way there, when you actually present something to them, they can look at it and say, yeah, this looks good. I'm interested. I want to take part in this investment. Boys, no more noise.
I can't hear the dog barking this time. Maybe the kids are just having a wrestle and the dog's outside, but the boys aren't feeling it. They're pumped up still, which is great. That's the way it should be. Yeah. So Nate, once again, we go back to self-educating, educate yourself, look where the new buyers are going to be, how you can get in contact with that, how you can sort of pivot with your business. And, once again, private lending, if you've got any access to people that you know that are looking to invest. And I guess the bottom line is you're going to have to get killer deals. You're going to have to get better deals than were available 6-12 months ago, because, probably at a more of a discount and a higher return rate for the investor. So because people are going to have more options now, aren't they?
And I'm not finding like massive discounts. Like we still get some that are discounted. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm finding right now, as opposed to 3 or 4 months ago, is sellers are saying yes to seller financing. And I think that that's going to be one of the other really big opportunities during the cycle. A lot of people took out really low interest loans over the last 5 years. Like historically speaking, if they got a loan for 3 or 4%, that's like really, really low. And some of those people, there will be a percentage that for whatever reason, they have to sell. They're getting transferred really fast. The market's gone flat and they still have to sell. And for those reasons, we're able to get a lot of sellers saying yes to seller financing. And so I'd watch for that window too. Don't just be glued to a 30% discount for market value or a 40% discount for market value. Also be attuned to, hey, I'm able to buy this thing at market value if I can just take over your mortgage, because there's really good deals that are to be made right there too.
So there's your gold nugget there. Creative finance is an alternative to private lending. Banks look at the creative finance as a way to solve the problem as well. So there's a couple of solutions there. It's just, like you said, doing your homework and making sure that you're prepared. You're prepared to present yourself to someone and say, look, we can help you with this situation you're in. So that's good to hear. And we want to get pumped up, Nate. We don't want to talk doom and gloom. We want to look at solutions. What else, have you got for the viewers and the listeners as a bit of advice moving forward? Now, if you want to do a disclaimer, that's okay. But just even, what your thoughts are. What your thoughts? You've given us a couple of gold nuggets there with creative,
So right now is not the time to try to go and pump a bunch of money in the stock market, the S&P 500, things like that. Right now is the time to pump money into yourself. We talked a little bit about the self-education earlier, but even if you can't go full school and hire someone to help you, then get books, go to conferences, low cost conferences, go and get education right now. I heard Alex Hermosi say this really, really well. He said, it's time to invest not in the S&P, but in the SME 500, because right now things are going to change. Market's going to get shaken up. This happens. These are cycles. It's normal. But what you can do to prepare yourself is just get educated by people who have lived through them. Get educated so that you can actually benefit and profit from them, and then serve other people along the path. So I would just triple or quadruple down on self-education right now. Invest in yourself, learn skills like sales, learn skills like, if you want to actually get really good deals, learn how to sit down with someone face to face with them and really solve their problems. That's a sales skill right there. And if you don't have those skills, invest in yourself to get them. Learn advanced negotiations. If a bank is about to foreclose on somebody, which we have one of our clients right now that literally the bank sent the sheriff's sale notice that they're going to go forward with foreclosure, learn how to be able to get on the phone with that bank and stop the foreclosure. Learn how to help the seller so that foreclosure doesn't go forward. Learn things like that. learn real estate knowledge. There were two safe havens during the 70s and 80s. The number one safe haven was gold. That was the biggest hedge against inflation that people could have in relatively easy terms to get. The second one was real estate. Most of the real estate investors that I know that were investing during the 70s and 80s, they like made a massive fortune. One of the gentlemen that I work with, he's got 3,000 buildings nationwide. Most of them were bought in the 70s and 80s. So during times of uncertainty and times that the market gets shaken like this, it's time to invest in you. Get the knowledge that you need to be able to really, really take advantage of this and to help people along the path. That's what I got, Graham, right there.
No, that's good. That's good. We've got some gold nuggets and that bit of advice, which is what we started off talking about, is really use the time to educate yourself and really go hard at that. Now, the other thing too, Nate, is you mentioned foreclosures. How much has the foreclosure, the old kicking of the can from COVID, affected this? Is this part of that as well, that all that's added to the situation?
Yeah, Graham, I do think that there will be a percentage of properties that go into foreclosure will probably return to like a pre-COVID level of foreclosures, which is normal. Every single market, even in good times, there's foreclosures. But we just put a giant Band-Aid on everything and covered up the financial problems for people and said no foreclosures for a while. So eventually those have to come through the system. But I don't think it's going to be this massive deluge, like this big flood of foreclosures that kills the market. And here's why. We had a massive run up in the market the last 2 years, a massive, massive run up, one like we've never, ever seen before. And because of that, people have equity in their properties. So I think that there's less people that are in risk of foreclosure, unless it gets really, really ugly. Like if we have a 30% market drop, which is possible, I don't think it's plausible, but I think it's possible. If we had that, then yes, there's going to be tons of foreclosures that are coming, but I don't think we're actually going to drop that much. I think we're probably going to see, depends on the city that we're talking about. I think that some places like Boise, Idaho, that had a big artificial run up in it, I think we could see 30% plus drops. But I don't think a central Texas or a central Midwest kind of state or city is going to see 30% tile drops. I don't see it in the cards. Who knows? Time will tell, but let's see.
Yeah, and I mean, if they do come through once again, this, that's just another opportunity to work with those people and try and preserve their credit and try and at least get them so that they can come out the other end, because that's the big thing with foreclosures. Is if it goes through, their credit rating's ruined, and this is not the time to have a poor credit rating. So
no.
Yeah, so that's another excuse me, that's another thing as well. So. Well, that's a lot of information, Nate. And like I said, people that are watching this, they can go back and check out all the stats and that. But this is just us chewing the fat on it, and that's the reality now. So, you've basically given us some ammunition to go out now and to look at some new strategies, because that's all that happens when there's a market shift. It's just realigning your strategies. If you were, say, a wholesaler that was selling to hedge funds, you may need to look at just building a list of buy and hold investors that are still looking to invest and find out how many properties they're going to do within 12 months and just recalibrate. So it's not the end of the world. It's just a bit of a pivot, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I would ask this for those of you that are hanging with us, do two things. Number one, press the like button. It really helps the social algorithms so that this message can get to more people. And then number two, there's a live training that we're doing. Graham helped me establish everything that you're seeing here, everything that Graham is like put together and his energy and efforts going out into the world. There's a live training that is kind of the cherry on top for this. And you can see that scrolling in the bottom of the screen right here, datewithnate.com/thunder. But anyways, if you'd like to learn more about how to do all this stuff and get deeper, I would highly suggest you attend that training. Attend every single training that you possibly can right now that's going to be good for you. Okay. Look for the ones that are beneficial, that click with you, that resonate with you. Get on them, get yourself educated right now so that you know what to do going through this next cycle.
Yeah, well, I did the 5-day leverage challenge last week, jumped into that with your friend Mike. And once again, that was free. And got some valuable information about raising money and private money. And these trainings are out there left, right, and centre. So it might be time just to stop chasing all the shiny objects and look at what particular trainings are out there that you can jump into. And then from there, jump in, network, find out within a certain genre what's going on from the people that are teaching it. And, once again, Nate, you're all over this. People like Mike are all over it. There's people out there that have been preparing this for a while. So that's great advice. Jump in and do some self-education. There's this stuff everywhere. And I think we get too busy sometimes to actually, we can't see the forest for the trees because there's that much stuff out there. So it's time to really, I guess, laser focus, isn't it, Nate? Laser focus on where you're heading in the next 12 months. And, like you've given the direction of Home Invest where they're heading for the next 12 months, and it's up to people to decide where they want to head. So that's awesome, Nate. Any other gold nuggets you want to throw out there? We'll ask people to smash the like button and the heart button, and you'll throw one last gold nugget out for us.
Yeah. So one more. A friend of mine brought this to me. It was actually Mike, the gentleman you just mentioned. He bought a business where it was a business that owned a bunch of real estate. And then he brought another one to me that I'm looking at now and I'm excited about. It's this retail setting where they own a big coffee shop and a distribution center behind it. But the real estate is for sale with the business. And the seller will only sell both at the same time. And so I'm excited about it because the real estate numbers make so much sense on the deal. And so I'm just going to plant a seed for those of you out there that maybe you're saying, oh gosh, I'm struggling to find deals. There's other deals out there. I promise you. I remember even 10 years ago, my wife and I bought a couple of car washes for the real estate. The real estate, it wasn't the business that we wanted. It was the real estate that we wanted. But there's opportunity everywhere. And right now, there's a lot of people that are baby boomers that are on that brink of retirement, or maybe they're in retirement right now, but they can't get out of their business, that would love to sell to you. So if you can't get real estate the traditional way, try the back door way. Try to find another angle to get the same kind of deals.
Yeah. And you make an interesting point there, Nate, with the baby boomers, and they've had their time. They want to retire. They want to scale down. I'm noticing a lot more portfolios coming on the market and packages of 30 properties and that. So a lot of people are looking to scale out. And if the prices aren't up where they were 6 months ago, that's the time to be able to come in. And you mentioned before about creative finance. If you can't give them a high enough cash offer, look at maybe something that has tax benefits where they can slowly move the portfolio over a 5-year period, and it works for everyone. So there is opportunities out there. I'm seeing them everywhere. There's multi-family portfolios going, the single family portfolio. So maybe, like you said, it's time to change direction and laser focus on that. So that's awesome, Nate. I'm glad you come in just to share a bit of your knowledge and wisdom with the Home Invest tribe. And I ask people, as I do always, to go to the YouTube channel, the Home Invest School. I think it's just the Home Invest YouTube channel, and hit the subscribe button. So when we go live, we're going to 2 podcasts a week from this week, back to 2 podcasts. Plus, you've got Nate just putting in like half a dozen lives and teaching sessions each week. Go in there, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so that you get notified, and then you can see them live. And at least you'll be notified. Even if you're busy, you can go and watch them later because you know they're there. And jump in the Facebook group. The Facebook group's got about 9,000 people in it. Start reaching out to people, posting, start searching for people to network with so that you can prepare, for the next 6-12 months, and start really, like Nate said, educating yourself and trying to work out what you're going to laser focus on for the next 12 months. So it's all there for you guys. It's been revamped and rebranded, and Nate and the team are putting a lot of effort into it. So get in there and do yourself a favor and educate yourself. So, we're just going to try and keep getting Nate on every now and then with what he's seeing. Nate's always looking into the future and what's going on there. So appreciate your time, Nate. Thanks for coming in and sharing that with all the viewers. And we'll get you to keep everyone posted. And like I said, people can, jump in the group, jump on the YouTube channel and check it out on a weekly basis. So awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Graham. Thanks, guys.
And we'll sign out for now. And Friday, we'll have a special guest coming in on Friday, which I'm working on at the moment. And don't miss out because it's going to be relevant to what we're talking about today. So make sure you come 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, and we'll get you this special guest, and we'll move forward together. All right, no worries. Nate's left the building. I think he's gone back into the green room to listen to some AC/DC that I've put on for him, and we'll sign out, guys. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for Nate for dropping a few gold nuggets. And guys, like Nate said, self-education, get out there and really look at what you're going to do to move forward for the next 6 or 12 months as an investor. All right, I'll sign out for now. Thank you for joining us. And like I said last Friday, because of Nate and the Home Invest School podcast, you guys are being schooled. All right, catch you later. Bye for now.